Byron Donalds. Guys, if you have not been following this guy, he is one of the good guys. If he is even half of everything he seems like he is, it's going to be guys like him that really are our future. You know, he had a really, really good sit down with Stephen A. Smith, a guy who I honestly never really liked on ESPN. He's so loud, but he's trying to rebrand himself, which I respect. He's trying to come back to something that could be at least mistaken for sanity. And it's interesting to watch. You know, they had a talk about all the lawfare that the left is using in their election interference schemes against Donald Trump, against us, really. And I think that he even makes the case probably better than Donald Trump himself.
How at this point could you possibly support Donald Trump?
First of all, I'll tell you right now, between him and Joe Biden, this isn't even a question. Joe Biden sucks. He's terrible at the job. And we do have to acknowledge that before COVID-19, despite all the circus and the phony investigations, you know, the Russia collusion thing was phony. That's now come out to be proven. Despite all of the distractions in the circus, he actually did the job as president of the United States. Every demographic group was doing well under Donald Trump. Every demographic group was doing well. Our border was secure. There were no foreign wars that anybody was talking about that we were entangled in. Our country was booming. Energy prices were low. We were energy independent, something that every politician had said that they wanted to do. Donald Trump actually was able to make all that stuff happen.
Dude, how spot on is that? And it's crazy. You know, anything pandemic related, it really, really does bring out the hypocrite in the left, all the left. I mean, the average leftist for sure. On one hand, you know, everything Bidenomics related is about bringing us back from a worldwide pandemic. I mean, everything from supply chain to inflation. It's all Joe Biden saving us from pandemic related doom. But somehow at the very, very same time, when it comes to Trump, they completely and totally ignore it. They just rattle off economic figures with zero context. You know, worst job performance or job loss by any president, most egregious spending of any president. And the list, I mean, it goes on and on and on. Every economic factor, they just ignore it with no mention of anything other than failure and doom. But like everything, I mean, the context matters, man. And luckily, people are not stupid. People remember. I mean, people get it. The majority of Americans remember the Trump economy was better than Biden's. I mean, it's a fact, which of course, I mean, it's no surprise. I guess it's surprising they actually remember it, but it's the truth. I mean, basically every president's economy has been better than what we have right now. And we've had some really, really tough economies. And Byron Donalds, he definitely gets it.
Now let's look at the actual charges. Do you mean to tell me that because a president of the United States had classified documents, who, by the way, former presidents still have their security clearance, they still get the daily presidential briefing, that now somehow this is a threat to national security? That is a joke, especially considering the fact that the only way the National Archives could even bring this charge, or excuse me, the FBI and the Department of Justice could bring this charge, is that the White House counsel, who works for Joe Biden, had to allow it. That's one. Two, what's going on in Georgia, I'm sorry, flat out wrong. Every candidate who runs is allowed to challenge election results. Every candidate. It's not some RICO charge. That's insane to me.
I mean, a lot of people, most people are not aware of any of this stuff. They have no idea that presidents retain clearances. They have no idea that presidents oftentimes get daily briefings still. They have no idea. They have no idea that they are consulted regularly on issues and policies and events, especially the ones that have to do with their administration. People don't know this stuff. They just believe what they're told. And what they're told is that Donald Trump stole nuclear secrets and shared them with rich Australians. And I mean, come on. People are actually dumb enough, or I won't say dumb enough. That's not fair. People are actually uninformed enough to actually believe this stuff, which is pretty remarkable, right? As far as Georgia, I mean, since they've had this talk, obviously that deal is all jacked up, but he's right. I mean, it's absolutely not a crime, you know, and the left knows it. Every time they start to realize they can't fight actual facts, you know, just guess what comes up.
Let's get to the insurrection. I'm going to shock you here. I do think he incited. I do think he was irresponsible. I do not believe it was criminal. I do not believe that. The criminals are the ones that busted into the Capitol. The criminals are the ones that did those things. Not him saying he did use the word peacefully, because I'm no fan of I've known, and I'll tell you that story in a second.
He did say that.
He did use the word peacefully. He did say that. All right, they want to ignore that, but it's the truth. I got to say that.
I'm honestly not super sure what old Stephen A is trying to hedge on here, but he says, I do think he incited, but I don't think it's criminal. I mean, what does that even mean? Come on, man. You're either in or you're out. You either believe it or you don't believe it. I mean, you can't acknowledge that Trump said go peacefully, but that you also believe that he incited anything. I mean, unless you're talking about peace, he definitely incited peace, but that's weak. That just doesn't make sense. But this is the game that a lot of these people play. It's just empty words. You throw some scary ones like insurrection and dictator in there. You don't have to really say anything, but you send your message to the already victimized propaganda victims. And that's just the way it works. But here's the thing. Donalds, he's not stupid. He's not going to fall for anything that lazy.
Couple things. First, I'll say with respect to the January 6th charges, yes, he said peacefully. We'll go to the Capitol. We'll protest peacefully. And in every one of his statements, he's always saying we'll protest, but we protest peacefully and we follow the law. The other thing I will add about January 6th, because of my time on the Oversight Committee, is Donald Trump authorized 10,000 National Guard troops on January 4. So if he was trying to have violence at the Capitol, why would he authorize National Guard troops 2 days before to be at the Capitol? And the only person who said no to the National Guard being at the Capitol was Nancy Pelosi, because Nancy Pelosi, being Speaker of the House at the time, is in charge of Capitol security. I know they don't report on this stuff, but that's the stuff that came out in the Oversight Committee.
They don't want to hear this stuff, man. I mean, come on. And many of them, not only do they not want to hear it, they have never heard this stuff. I would bet you that the average insurrection scam victim, they have no idea that the National Guard was authorized by President Trump. They have no idea that Nancy Pelosi declined the National Guard. They don't know. They have no idea. They also, I believe, have no idea that Donald Trump actually said,
"We have come to demand that Congress do the right thing and only count the electors who have been lawfully slated." Lawfully slated. I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard. Today we will see whether Republicans stand strong for integrity of our elections, but whether or not they stand strong for our country.
I don't honestly see how it's possible, man. I do not understand how it's possible that anyone could hear all of the information and still believe any of the peddled narratives on any of this. It just does not make sense, man. I mean, no one has ever even asked Nancy Pelosi why she declined the National Guard. We've heard spin and we've heard reasons, but we've never, ever heard anything from her, actually. And we never will, because people, largely they're just going to believe and do exactly like they're told. And the amazing thing is, while they're in the act, they really, really do believe, or at least they say they believe, that the people who do not comply, the people who would dare question the narrative, are cult members. You cannot make that shit up. I can't even explain. It's truly remarkable. And here's the thing, if not for Byron Donalds and just a few others like him, man, I believe we'd be in actual real trouble. I mean, can you imagine if all we had fighting against this insanity were people like Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy, where there would be no point. I mean, there would be no point. It would be over. It'd be a wrap. But anyway, that's just my take, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, be a part of our growth. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Most importantly, share the channel. I'll see you in the next one.